My name is Vanessa Holloway. I'm 29 years old, and until last winter, I genuinely believed I was going to marry Daniel Mercer. That's the strange thing about betrayal. Right before it happens, your life still looks normal. You still have toothbrushes sitting side by side in the bathroom. Still have grocery lists saved in your phone with stupid little heart emojis. Still have future plans floating around in conversations like they're guaranteed to happen. Daniel and I had been together for almost 3 years. We lived separately, but he practically stayed at my apartment 4 nights a week. We talked about moving in together officially the following summer. His mother already treated me like family. His father once joked during Thanksgiving dinner that he expected grandkids before he turned 65. I remember laughing. God, I remember laughing. The message came in at 4:17 p.m. on a Thursday while I was sitting at work reviewing contracts. Hey, we need to talk. I think I need a break to figure some things out. It's not you. I just need space to clear my head. I stared at the screen for a long time. My stomach dropped immediately, but if I'm honest, part of me had already been preparing for something like this. Daniel had been distant for weeks, constantly turning his phone face down. Random late nights. Work dinners, long showers after getting home. Tiny changes that felt insignificant alone, but poisonous when stacked together. Still, I ignored it. Because when you love someone, you become talented at lying to yourself. I typed back carefully. Okay, take the time you need. I hit send. No begging, no dramatic paragraphs, no desperation. 3 minutes later, another text arrived. Also, Melissa is pregnant. It's mine. I've been seeing her again behind your back. I'm sorry. I read it once, then again, then a third time. My hand literally froze on the mouse beside my keyboard, while the office noise around me faded into static. My coworker, Angela, leaned over the cubicle wall. Vanessa? You okay? I looked at her and heard myself answer calmly. Yeah, I just found out my boyfriend got his ex-girlfriend pregnant. Even saying it aloud didn't feel real. The strange part? I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't throw my phone. Everything inside me just shut off. Like my body realized emotions would kill me faster than numbness, I screenshotted both messages immediately, full timestamps visible. Then I replied, Congratulations on your new journey. I wish you both the best. Sent. After that, I blocked him everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, even LinkedIn. 30 seconds later, Daniel Mercer no longer existed in my world. But Daniel had one major problem: his family. The Mercers were deeply religious. Old school conservative Christians. Church every Sunday. Bible studies on Wednesdays. His mother constantly talked about integrity, commitment, and honoring your future wife. Daniel spent years pretending to be the perfect son. Now, he had cheated on me with his ex-girlfriend and gotten her pregnant while still planning a future with me. And suddenly, I realized something terrifying. If I stayed silent, he would absolutely rewrite the story. He would tell everyone I abandoned him, that I overreacted, that I was cold, cruel, unsupportive. So I opened a new message thread to his mother. I attached the screenshots, then typed, Mrs. Mercer, I'm sorry you had to hear this from me. I thought you deserved the truth. Please take care. Sent. I put my phone on silent. Then I finished my shift like a machine. That night, I slept almost 8 full hours, which honestly scared me more than if I'd cried. The next morning, my phone looked like a disaster zone. 91 notifications. Missed calls from random numbers. Voicemails. Messages from Daniel using friends' phones. Vanessa, please answer. This isn't how this was supposed to happen. You had no right to involve my mother. That one almost made me laugh. No right? He cheated on me for months and got another woman pregnant. But somehow I was the problem. The voicemails got uglier as they went on. At first, he sounded guilty, then defensive, then angry, then panicked. One voicemail stood out. Melissa is freaking out because my family knows now. My dad won't even look at me. Mom cried for an hour. Vanessa, please, just talk to me. I deleted it halfway through, but the messages from his mother surprised me the most. The first one was calm. Vanessa, thank you for your honesty. I need time to process this. The second arrived hours later. You did not deserve this treatment. That message broke something inside me more than Daniel's betrayal did. Because validation after betrayal feels dangerous, like finally being allowed to trust your own pain. Friday evening, another message appeared from an unfamiliar number. It was Melissa. You ruined his relationship with his family. I stared at the text in silence. Then another came through. His father called him a disgrace. Another. His mother is devastated. And finally, I hope you're happy. Happy. That word sat in my chest like glass. I wasn't happy. I was exhausted. I typed one response. Daniel ruined his relationship with his family when he cheated and lied. I only told the truth. Then I blocked that number too. By Saturday morning, I learned something even worse. Daniel had already started lying. Mutual friends began texting carefully worded questions. Did you really pressure him into confessing? Did you threaten to expose him? Did things get toxic before the breakup? That's when I realized Daniel wasn't just trying to save himself. He was building a version of reality where I became the villain. And honestly, that hurt more than the cheating. Because betrayal is one thing. Watching someone erase your dignity afterward is another kind of violence entirely. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, holding a mug of cold tea while rain hit the windows. For the first time since Thursday, I finally cried. Not because I missed him, but because I realized the man I loved never actually existed. The first person from Daniel's family who spoke to me like a human being was his younger sister, Claire. She texted me Sunday afternoon. Can we talk? I'm not trying to attack you. I just think something isn't adding up. I stared at the message for a while before agreeing. Claire and I had always gotten along. She was quieter than the rest of the Mercer family. Less judgmental, more observant. During family dinners, she'd usually sit beside me while everyone else argued politics or church gossip. When she called, her voice sounded exhausted. I just need to know what actually happened. So I told her. Everything. The distance. The secretive behavior. The break text. Melissa's pregnancy. The confession. The screenshots. Sending them to his mother before he could twist the story. Claire stayed silent for almost a minute after I finished. Then she sighed softly. Yeah, that's not what Daniel's been telling people. I closed my eyes immediately. Of course it wasn't. What's he saying? That you emotionally cornered him somehow. That you threatened to tell our parents if he didn't confess everything. Another pause. He's making it sound like you manipulated him. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny. Because at that point the lies felt so pathetic they crossed into absurdity. I have screenshots, Claire. He confessed on his own. There wasn't even a message from me between the breakup text and the pregnancy confession. Can you send them to me? I did immediately. A minute later, the typing bubble appeared, then, oh my God, another message. He lied to everyone. That sentence should have felt satisfying. Instead, it made me feel hollow, because I suddenly understood something terrifying about Daniel. He wasn't ashamed of what he'd done. He was ashamed of getting caught. Claire eventually admitted their parents had been confused, because Daniel kept crying and saying, I'd destroyed his future. Apparently, Melissa had also been contacting him nonstop, because Daniel's family now knew about the affair and wanted nothing to do with her. Dad barely talks to him, Claire admitted quietly. Mom keeps praying over him like someone died. Maybe something did, I muttered. After that call, I truly thought the worst was over. I was wrong. Tuesday night at exactly 9:04 p.m., someone started pounding on my apartment door hard enough to shake the walls. I froze on the couch. Then I heard Daniel screaming my name. "Vanessa! Open the damn door!" My stomach dropped instantly. He sounded unhinged. I peeked through the peephole. Daniel looked awful. Wrinkled hoodie. Bloodshot eyes. Hair messy like he'd been pulling at it for hours. He kept pacing the hallway while slamming his fist against my door every few seconds. "You turned my family against me." Another bang. "You had no right." I didn't answer. That only made him louder. A neighbor opened their door down the hall and shouted at him to shut up. Daniel ignored them completely. 5 minutes later, the police arrived. 2 officers walked into the hallway while Daniel immediately switched tactics. The transformation was honestly impressive. Suddenly his voice cracked emotionally. "She's my girlfriend," he said dramatically. "We had a fight and now she's locking me out." I opened the door before the officers could even knock. One of them looked between us carefully. "Ma'am, does this man live here?" "No," Daniel immediately interrupted. "I basically live here." "No," I repeated calmly. "He has never lived here. We broke up last week after he admitted he got another woman pregnant." The hallway went silent. One officer blinked slowly. Daniel looked furious that I'd said it so bluntly. I continued before he could speak. "I have the text messages. My name is the only one on the lease." The older officer nodded once. "Can we see the lease?" I grabbed it immediately along with printed copies of the screenshots I'd started carrying in my purse after the harassment began. The officer read the messages carefully, especially the line, "Melissa is pregnant. It's mine." Daniel looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. The younger cop handed the papers back to me and turned toward Daniel. "Sir, she's telling the truth. You need to leave." Daniel's face twisted instantly. "But my stuff is here." I almost laughed. He had maybe 3 hoodies, a phone charger, and an electric toothbrush in my apartment. Nothing else. I already packed everything. I disappeared inside briefly and returned with a garbage bag filled with his belongings. The humiliation on his face was immediate. Still, he tried one last desperate move. "Where's my iPad?" I stared at him. "You never brought an iPad here." "Yes, I did." "No, you didn't. You're keeping it because you're bitter." The officers were visibly losing patience now. The older cop crossed his arms. "Do you have proof you left an iPad here?" Daniel opened his mouth, then closed it again. Because there was no iPad. There had never been an iPad. He was inventing problems in real time because losing control terrified him. Finally, the officers escorted him toward the elevator. Before stepping inside, Daniel turned back toward me with pure hatred in his eyes. "You're going to regret this." I held his stare without blinking. "No," I said quietly. "You are." The elevator doors closed. One officer lingered long enough to advise me to file a harassment report in case Daniel escalated again. I did it that same night. Paper trail, documentation, evidence. Funny how quickly heartbreak turns you into someone cautious. Wednesday afternoon, I accidentally answered a call from an unknown number while driving home from work. It was Daniel's mother. Her voice sounded smaller somehow. Older. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me." I stayed silent. "We're trying to deal with everything according to our faith," she continued softly. "Daniel is struggling." I almost responded emotionally. But then I remembered Daniel standing outside my apartment, screaming like I was the villain in his story. "He made choices," I said carefully. A long pause followed. Then she whispered, "I know." That hurt, because mothers always know eventually. She admitted Melissa had stopped answering Daniel's calls after his family found out the truth. Apparently, the fantasy relationship collapsed almost immediately once consequences appeared. The irony was brutal. He destroyed our relationship for a woman who didn't even want him once. Reality became inconvenient. "Daniel keeps saying he made a mistake," his mother said quietly. "No," I replied. "Cheating once is a mistake. Lying for months is a pattern." Silence again. Then she said something I'll never forget. "I raised him better than this." The sadness in her voice felt genuine. and for the first time, I almost pitied Daniel. Almost. Friday evening, exactly 1 week after the breakup text, Daniel's father called me personally. His voice was calm, controlled, exhausted. Vanessa, I wanted you to know Claire showed us the real screenshots. I leaned against my kitchen counter silently. Daniel lied about what happened, he continued. Your version was the truth. Something inside my chest loosened slightly, not because I needed revenge, but because I needed reality acknowledged. We're making him move back home temporarily, his father continued. Melissa wants space from him. The baby situation is complicated. Everything's become chaos. His chaos, not mine. Before hanging up, he sighed heavily. You handled this with more dignity than my son did. After the call ended, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the dark window above the sink. Outside, the city lights blurred against the rain, and for the first time since everything exploded, I realized Daniel's life was collapsing faster than mine. 3 weeks later, the entire disaster finally started burning itself out. Daniel still tried contacting me. Fake Instagram accounts, random numbers, even a LinkedIn request at one point, which honestly felt embarrassing for him. The worst message came late one night. Melissa says the timeline might be wrong. The baby could still be mine, and yours was just bad math. Maybe we should talk. I stared at the screen in disbelief. After everything, he was now trying to weaponize uncertainty to pull me back into his mess. I screenshotted it and sent it directly to Claire. Her response came almost immediately. Oh my God, he's spiraling! Blocked again. A week later, the paternity test came back. The baby was his. Not surprisingly, Melissa apparently wanted nothing serious anymore. The fantasy relationship that destroyed mine lasted less than 2 months in the real world. Daniel moved back into his parents' house full-time. His father barely spoke to him. His mother still loved him, but disappointment hung over that family like smoke. Then came the professional fallout. Daniel and Melissa worked in the same department, which violated company policy. HR got involved. After coworkers started talking, Melissa transferred teams. Daniel got written up formally after investigators uncovered inappropriate communication during work hours. Mutual friends quietly stopped inviting him places. Nobody trusted him anymore, especially after the lies. Meanwhile, my life slowly became peaceful again. I went to therapy, started sleeping better, started laughing again. I repainted my apartment walls, donated old clothes, changed my routines. Little things, quiet things, healing things. One night, my friend Angela asked me something while we were out getting drinks. Do you regret sending those screenshots to his mom? I thought about it carefully. Honestly, no, because if I hadn't, Daniel would have rewritten everything. He would have turned me into the cold ex-girlfriend who abandoned him during a crisis instead of the woman he betrayed for months. The truth mattered, and eventually, everyone saw it. 2 days ago, one final text arrived from another unknown number. I know I ruined everything. You deserve better than me. I'm truly sorry. I read it once, then blocked the number. No response. No anger either. That was the strange part. I didn't hate Daniel anymore. Hate requires emotion, and by then he had become nothing more than someone I used to love who made catastrophic choices. 3 months from now, he'll be raising a child with a woman he barely knows while trying to repair relationships. He shattered himself. And me? I'll be somewhere peaceful, somewhere clean, somewhere honest. For a long time, I thought revenge meant making someone suffer. Turns out, the best revenge is simply refusing to carry their chaos with you into your future.